Hi guys, my name is Mohammed. I am a senior software engineer and instructor. Let's forget about all these names and titles. I am Mohammed. I am just a web developer. I am here because I do love JavaScript. So, actually, I am a senior software engineer at Ucraft company. We are developing amazing application and an amazing website builder in Ucraft using React, GraphQL, and some other cool stuffs. We are going to talk about how choosing a wrong form library can affect your project's efficiency. First of all, why? Why do we need a form library? You know, these days, most of our React applications need some kind of React in them in order to, to retrieve data from our users, to collect data from our users, to insert some data in our databases, insert some data in our GraphQL and other stuff. So, using using forms in our application is a necessary these days. But if go for a form library, it's going to help us a lot. Why? Because it's going to remove all of those boilerplates that are there for creating some forms. We are going to see something in action, how we can use normal HTML forms, normal, our HTML tags in our React application, and how we can replace it with some fancy third-party libraries and test their performances and to see how it goes, how they are going to help us, and which third-party library we can go for it to have a better performance, to have a better result at the end of the day. When it comes to the choosing a form library for our project, I think the most important part is performance. Performance is the key to success in your project, is the key of success of your applications to have a better even UX.
Sorry for interrupting. We don't see anything on the screen. It's black. Maybe you should have shared the another screen.
Sorry guys, let me share it again. It was there. Can you see my screen?
Let me share it. Yeah, we can. Okay. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No worries. How about now?
It's good. It's good. Great.
Yeah, good. So,
okay.
So, since you haven't seen the slides, yeah, I'm working for Ucraft company, as we've talked about it, and we are going to talk about how choosing a wrong form library can affect our, our project's efficiency. So we talked about why we do need a form library. So we want to talk about only performance of a third-party library, party library that we want to import in our project and take advantage of its features. And of course, in order to remove most of the repetitive, the codes that always we should write there in order to, create a form there. So we can take advantage of these form libraries like React Hook Forms with this slogan, that simple React Forms validation. Formic with this slogan, that build forms in React without the tiers. And Redux form, the best way to manage your form state in Redux. And React state. The React state is not a third-party library, but I want to compare, using normal React state and then replace it with, one of these form libraries to see how it goes, how it's going to improve our performance. And not only performance, but also, to help to develop applications faster and remove all of those boilerplate out there. So React State, it doesn't have, some kind of a slogan, but I think it's there out of the box. It's always there. The form, tag was there from the beginning, and the React States was there too. So you can easily combine these two and create some kind of your own form library. There are other form libraries out there too, like React Final Form, can do React Form, OnForm, and other stuff. But I've choose, the best ones to just compare them and choose between these guys. Not only, I think if you want to go for other form libraries out there, it's just, it's just for you to have a journey, to have some adventure out there to test other form libraries. Okay, first of all, let's compare these libraries in terms of the GitHub stars, NPM weekly download, and contributors. React Hook Form has 20K GitHub stars, Formic 27K, and Redux Form 12K. As you know, GitHub stars are very important. Why? Because if, for instance, me, if I go for and choose Formic for my project, and at the end of the day, I feel like it's, we can understand each other. So I'll give it a star for Formic, for instance. So if you take a look at the NPM weekly download, you can figure it out that React Hook Forms something around 900,000 downloads per week. Formic, 1.5 million downloads per week. So that's a huge number, and it's great. It means that a lot of people out there are using Formic. And Redux Form, around 400,000. The reason that I've added Redux Form here, it's only for one purpose. I did it, on purpose. Why? Because, at ancient times, I go for Redux Form for one of my projects, and it's going to ruin my projects. I'm going to tell you why, and we are going to see how it's, we are going to compare Redux Form with Formic and React Hook Form. So if we take a look at the contributors, we can see that Formic and Redux Form, around 400 contributors, but React Hook Form around 150. So, we don't want to just depend on these numbers, but, these numbers give us some clues that which, form library we should go for our next project. So let's compare them. Learning curve. I've developed several applications with these form libraries in different projects. So I think React Hook Form it's easy. Formic is super easy. Somehow I want to define some kind of UX, in these libraries, in these plugins that we want to use. I mean, Formic is really handy. It's super easy. It's super easy. You can easily, learn it, get onto it, even refactor your, previous codes that you've written with, for instance, some normal form tag and React states. You can easily replace them with Formic. It's super easy. But Redux Form, believe me, it's really hard. It's really hard, and you're going to, take a lot of time reading the documentations and try it out, get, errors without any clue how we can fix them, and it's going, it's just a pain in the neck. So how about documentations? In terms of documentations, I rate these libraries like this. React Hook Form 8 out of 10, Formic 9 out of 10, To be honest, we are going to see their websites in a couple of minutes, but believe me, Formic, it's pretty neat. It has a pretty neat documentation, so you can easily learn things and get onto it and work on it. Even it has a great community that you can ask your questions and get the result. Okay, for Redux Form, I gave it 6 out of 10 because really lack of documentations, lack of meaningful messages in order to fix your bugs inside that library. It's the website for React Hook Form. It's pretty neat. It contains get started, some kind of toolkits, API, advanced techniques, frequently asked questions, and other stuff. It's website of Formic docs, again, docs, blogs, users, and other stuff. But if you take a look at the docs, you can find it out. It really speaks to you. And this is Redux Form. I don't know what happened to their website, but I think it's going to crash somehow. Okay, so let's talk about the size. Size it really matters. Why? Because first of all, in order to increase your performance, increase your TTL, TTI, time to interaction. If you want to, decrease time to interaction, it means that how much it takes that your project loads and our user can interact with our applications. So you have to ship, less files, less, less JS files, less CSS files, images, and other stuff. Make them lazy, do some code splitting out there in order to reduce the TTI, time to interact. You can even use Chrome Lighthouse in order to calculate the TTI for your project. But in order to decrease the TTI, time to interaction, you have to reduce the size that you are going to ship to the clients. For React Hook Form, the unpacked size is around 600 kilobytes, but the packed size is around 60 kilobytes. It's pretty neat. But the last column, the project column, it means that, we are going to see some demos that I've developed using React Hook Form, Formic, and Redux Form, and React State. All of them are same functionality, same inputs, same resources, everything is same. But I just put the project size, the project resource that it uses to load up my project, just to compare, in order to compare things. So for React Hook Form, the packed size is 60 kilobytes. For Formic, it's 69, around 70. So in terms of the size, if I want to compare React Hook Form with Formic, I think I can go for Hook Form. So for Redux Form, since it has some dependencies like Redux and other stuff, so it's around 250 kilobytes. So if we want to compare React Form with Formic or React Hook Form, I think the winner is not Redux Form. So if you take a look at the project column for Redux Form, you can figure out that the size of the project is more than 2 megabytes for a simple application. So for React State, since the form tag and the React States are there in React out of the box, so I haven't put some sizes for the unpacked and packed column, but the final My final project size is 1.6 megabytes. We are going to see everything in action in a moment. Don't worry about it. TypeScript, all of them supports JavaScript, React Native, React Hook Form supports React Native, so we can use it in your React Native projects too. Formik, same for Formik, same for React State, but not Redux form. If you go for Redux form, it's going to fail. It's not going to work on on your mobile devices. If you want to use your reuse your components in your React Native project. So how about field types? All of them supports all kinds of fields. By single value, I mean the fields that contains only strings, numbers, just a single value. By array value, I mean the ones that are related to an array. For instance, if you have a cart, so the product items that you've put in the cart are an array. So those kind of fields are array types, but single value could be, for instance, first name, last name, gender, and other stuff. So in terms of validations, React Hook Form and Formik are exactly the same. They contain fancy features. All of them, I think, contains the required minimum, maximum, min length, max length, pattern, regex, and custom validation. But the fancy and tricky things are YEP plugin. You can use a YEP library in order to define some kind of validation schema and pass them to the React Hook Form or Formik in order to validate your forms. We are going to see it in action in a moment. And asynchronous validation and array validation, both of them are contains these ones. But the issue is the Redux form. No, it only contains custom validations. It means that you should write put some ifs in order, even if you want to validate, the existence, the required validation for a field, you should, for instance, write a simple if and throw an error, something like this, like that. So how about React State? Since React State, in React State mode, we are going only to use states and form tag. So we can only use our normal validations. Normal, HTML5 validations, like required property that you can put on the inputs, pattern property that you can put on the inputs, or you can set the type of an input to email in order to validate the content of that input as an email. So these are the ones that you can use inside React State type form if you want to implement your form without using any kind of third-party application. So okay. These are the key features that React Hook Form mentioned them on their website, built with performance and DX in mind. We are going to talk about it. Native form validation, integration with UI libraries. It's very important that you could, integrate your form library with other UI libraries like React Material or any kind of UI library out there. Even CSS libraries like Bootstrap, Tailwind, and other stuff. A small size and no dependencies. Yeah, I think it's one of the key features of the React Hook Form. It has no dependencies. It has been written in vanilla JavaScript and React. At the end of the day, all of these libraries are going to be compiled to JavaScript, so all of them will be JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. But it's great that they haven't used any kind of dependencies for their library. Follows HTML standards for validations, validation resolver, support for YEP, so superstruct, GUI, West, or custom. We've talked about YEP, and we are going to see it in action in a couple of minutes. And these are the features for Formic. The important ones are error messages. All of them contains error messages. Array fields, it's really important. And internationalization, it's really important. Auto-saving forms, it contains auto-saving forms too. And dynamic fields. Dynamic fields is one of the most important features for not only a static form, because at the end of the day, in some project you need to define dynamic fields based on some kind of JSON that comes that you retrieve from the backend. So you do need dynamic forms. It means that after initialization of your form, you're going to append or modify the fields that exist in that project, in that form. For Redux form, simple form, asynchronous validation, field level validation, submit validation, just some simple stuff. But maybe one of the good features that Redux form has is immutable JS, since it uses Redux in order to pass the variables, and you should use Redux selectors in order to get the values, so it will be immutable at the end of the day. And React State, as you wish, since React State is some kind of your custom form library, so the features are in your hand. So let's see everything in action. Okay. Guys, can you see my screen?
Yeah, yes, we can. But now it's black.
It was black from the beginning?
No. It's when you asked, we see your screen at that moment.
Okay, no, let me share it again. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
Good.
Great.
Okay. So first of all, let's get onto and look into the HTML form demo. Let me run it. HTML form demo. Start. Okay. Just a simple application that I've created it using Create React app. Nothing special. But the important part is the app TSX file, which is I've implemented the form here. We are going to talk about it in a moment. First of all, let's take a look at the analyze part of the project. It's 1.6 megabytes, and it only contains the libraries, the files, the JS, the npm packages that we've used only for React. The only important part is maybe this one, the app.tsx, which is 18 kilobytes. So the whole project size is 1.6 megabytes. By the way, if you're wondering how we can have this, I am using bundle analyzer plugin of Webpack here in order to have this page and have an analyze on the bundle. So it's going to analyze your bundle in order to see which plugin, which node module takes how much of the size of your JS files. Okay, so let's see. First of all, we are trying to use just form tag, a normal input, normal select, normal radio button, normal checkboxes here. Let's type something. As you see, guys, could you please tell me if you could see, the shake? Can you see the shake? Guys? Okay, no worries. Let's continue. Okay, as you see, my screen, actually my form shakes a little bit at specific times whenever React tries to re-render the HTML, the application, the components. I'm going to, put some animations on the component in order to see that React is re-rendering everything. Since we want to focus on the performance of our application, so it is really important to reduce the number of renders in our application. The key to success in your React application is to reduce the number of re-renders in your application. So as you see in my current implementation, that I've used HTML forms, a simple form tag. Let's see the code. Yep. Now here, as you see, I'm using just a simple HTML form and inputs and Bootstrap in order to have this result. So as you see, I'm trying to type my name, and each key press of my input is going to render the whole form, the whole component. Why? Because the thing, the important part of React is each time you're trying to set a state in your application. Let's go to, as you see, I've put an onChange event on my input. So my input is name. So let's go to the handle change. Inside the handle change, I'm going to set form data. So set form data, what is it? It is a reducer. So I'm just going to, push some data to this reducer, and it's going to fill my form data. As you see, here is my reducer. Okay, no worries. It's just some simple stuff. So, but the tricky part is that I'm trying to set a state in my application. What does it mean? Since I'm trying to set a state, React, figure out that you set a state in your components. So it's going to try to render your application. So it makes sense. Why? Because you've changed some data in your components that it's going to affect some other parts, which is, for instance, since I've used the form data here in order to show you the current, form values. So it makes sense. We set a state and it's going to re-render everything. So as you see, as soon as I type anything inside my input, it's going to re-render my component. So the key to understand that how you can, first of all, not only in terms of the HTML forms and form libraries and other stuff. First of all, you should find the bottleneck of renders in your application and reduce those renders in order to have a better and a pretty neat application that others, even on, even on, not a good, with a good CPU and RAM and other stuff, even on a mobile device, could use your application. Why? Because if you have a lot of renders in your application, it's going to, it's obvious that it tries to run JavaScript behind the scene. React tries to render everything, and it's going to consume the CPU. So at the end of the day, your application won't work smoothly. So we've talked about the state that it's going to affect. It's going to tell the React that you should re-render the application. So let's try and put some emails here. It doesn't matter what is it. Address, anything here. As you see, even my radio buttons, if I change the radio button, it's going to re-render everything, and it makes sense here because I've put unchange, for all of my inputs here, so it's going to set a state and it's going to re-render everything. So it makes sense. How about this one? The add product. Add product. It's guys, we've talked about it. Type of fields. These fields are single value fields, but these ones, the product, that is an array. It's going to be an array of products. So it's the array kind of values. So as you see, it's going to render everything. We just use some simple, inputs. And for instance, for our products here that I'm going to render these guys, I want to show you the add. Handle add product. As you see, again, it's going to call the set form data in order to update my state, and so it makes sense. It's going to pre-render everything. Okay. So, and the other parts, the delete, the handle product title change, I mean these guys, these drop downs, that's going to, re-render again everything, since it should update, this JSON here. Okay. So, as you see, I have to, handle everything in my project. In this implementation, I had to take care of the unchange events. I had to take care of the the add, the delete, and everything that's related to these. Even selects. I should take care of all of this. Even my my gender, female or male. As you see, I had to fill the checked property based on the current gender. So, these are some repetitive codes that you're going to have in all of your projects. So it's better to, in order to not regret in the future, we should go for a form library. So let's try one of these form libraries. First of all, let's take a look at the Formic. Take a look at the Formic project. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the It's analyze. As you see, the app TSX is 22 kilobytes, but we have a new friend here, Formic, 69 kilobytes. So the total size is 1.9 and around 2. Okay. These are the numbers that we've talked about it. You know, if you compare this analyze with the other one, the HTML, you know, the normal React state one, you can see, you know, it won't be there. It won't be there. Okay. This is Formic. Let's try everything from scratch. Yeah, as you see, again, we have the shake effect here. Why? Because it's going to render everything. Again, why? Since, you know, behind the scene, Formic uses states too. So it makes sense. It makes sense that it's going to render everything. But, you know, the important part that I really enjoy about Formic is, you know, how easy it is. Oh, first of all, yeah, it's good to see this guy, this little guy here. It is the thing that we've talked about it, YEP, the YEP library. It's an amazing library in order to, you know, create some kind of a schema in order to validate an object or anything. As you see, we tell the YEP that it will be an object, so it should has some kind of shape. The shape is, it contains, you know, I just put two validation here, two constraints here. First of all, YEP, we tell YEP that name is a string, so the minimum is 2, the maximum is 70, and it is required. For email, same for email, we said that it should be a string and then an email, and then it should be, you know, required. So at the end of the day, if you pass, you know, in React State Mode, you didn't have this feature, this kind of feature, or you can have it, but you should implement everything from scratch. Okay, so as you see, if you use Formic instead of form, you should, you know, put Formic tag here, and you can easily import it from the Formic npm package. So yeah, here we have validation schema that you can easily, you know, pass the validation schema that you've just created in order to validate your whole form, your whole objects based on this schema. And it's pretty neat, you know. It will be so handy for you, you know, in the future, in order to even create dynamic validators for your project based on the dynamic fields, based on the dynamic, you know, even sometimes you need to create a form based on the JSON that you retrieved from the backend. So it contains, you know, validations to it, so you can have custom validations here, and you just need to fill, you know, the errors object. It has on submits, and you can use it, but, you know, the important part is set submitting. It means that you can, as you see, you can have some kind of asynchronous, you know, call here in order to, you know, call everything on the backend and retrieve data and save them on the backend. So the important thing about Formic is inside the Formic tag, you should pass a function. As you see, it is a function. We are going to pass a function. So that contains everything: values, errors, touched. Let's talk about errors and touched. That all of libraries out there has these features. It means that errors, it's obvious. It means that an object that contains errors based on the error messages that you've passed here, you've put here. So based on the errors, you can show errors, error messages, and other stuff. Yeah, and touched. Touched is really important. Why? Because sometimes you don't want to show validations. As you see, let me refresh the page. If I press submit button, maybe I haven't put some validations there. No worry, we'll get onto it. Okay, so we have touched here. Touch, it means that which fields I've already touched. It means that I get onto it and remove some parts and make some changes. Okay, then for your inputs, you just need to pass these guys and pass the handle change and handle blur that comes from the formic function. Okay, so that's it. That's it for formic. Easy and handy functions. Let's get on to the next one so fast. The React hook form, that's we want to talk about it. When it comes to the performance, I think the best is React hook form. Why? We are going to see. So as you see, we can find, where is it? Hook. Here it is. It is, 59 kilobytes. Okay, let's get onto it. Okay, guys, I want you to focus on the renders. I'm trying to type. Do you see any renders there? No. Do you see any updates here? No. Why? Because behind the scene, React hook form use uncontrolled components in order to, have a better performance for your application. So it's not going to render each time you're trying to type something into your inputs. But at the end of the day, it's going to update everything. We are going to see that, no worries. Male, female, again, no re-render and no update on the JSON here. Behind the scene, it's going to store everything. Don't worry about it. But it's not going, just do some extra renders here. So let's test this one. How about add product? Oh, you see, as soon as I pressed add product, it re-renders everything. Why? Because it is an array value, so it should re-render everything. So as you see, again, on these guys, I don't have any kind of re-renders. That's the important part that we should consider in React hook form, that is not going to have much extra re-renders out there. So at the end of the day, you will have some kind of pretty neat application. But maybe this question crossed your minds, that how can I have some kind of watch on my name field? Yeah, you can do that. I think the creator of the React hook form was a genius. Why? Because he provided us a watch function in order to watch on a specific field. So if I put some kind of watch on my field, what will be the result? Let's refresh everything, and I'm trying again, type into the name field. As you see, now it's going to re-render everything. So you as a developer can choose which field needs re-renders. So you won't, face some kind of extra re-renders, and every time everything gets re-rendered. So, for instance, for name, I do need some kind of re-renders out there. So it's going to validate, it's going to re-render everything and put a watch on that. But I don't need some kind of re-render for my email. So as you see, I'm trying to type something in email and it's not going to re-render everything. But for add product, yes, it should re-render everything. This plugin is so wise. He understands that in which situation it should re-render everything and in which situation it shouldn't. Could you please tell me how much time do I have left? I need 5 minutes.
I think 5 minutes is okay. Try to finish in 10 minutes if it's okay.
Oh, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, guys. Okay, as you see, by using React hook form and take advantage of this watch function, to be honest, if you think in details, in React hook forms, all of us are React developers, so we understand that behind the scene, the watch somehow it's going to set some kind of states behind the scenes, so that state cause re-render in our application. So it makes sense. So it's better to use, put watch on the fields that we need to re-render. By re-render, I mean this. Let me put some logic on name. Maybe some kind of logic. Yeah, here maybe. If name equals Muhammad, yes, for instance, else no. I've just put a ternary here in order to, show a yes/no text here based on the content of name. So let's see the result. Yeah, let's refresh the page first. It's no, right? I want to remove the watch. Let's keep it for the moment. Muhammad. Oh, Muhammad. Yes. So it's yes. Why? Because I do need some kind of logic based on this specific field. So if I remove name from here and just use values.name, values.name. Values is the field that I've used in order to, here, in order to show the content of the form, the ones that you can see here. It is the values. It comes from the React hook form, from use form React, from React hook form library. Yeah, here, exactly here. So, okay. Let's see. Let's save it. So I've just commented the watch and name. So let's see what's going on here. Let's refresh my page. So try to put Muhammad. Nothing. Why? Because I do need some, I've put some logic based on the name field here. But I have to, put a watch on it in order to re-render everything based on this field in order to see the result. But I can see the result. How? For instance, if I press submit button, let's see what happened to this no text here. Yeah, it becomes yes. Why? Because the submit button, behind the scene, submit, it's going to re-render everything. It's related to React hook form. Shouldn't care about it. React hook form, do this. So don't worry about it. So that's the tricky part about the React hook form, and it tries to help us to have a better performance. By the way, let me show you something interesting here. Yeah, as soon as I press the submit button, since my name field is required, it's going to, first of all, focus on the name. It's one of the coolest features of the React hook form. It's going to put the cursor on the field that it's throws some kind of validation there. So we have name here. So if I try to type something, I just want to put my first letter in the name. One re-render. How about next time? No. It's really cool. It's really cool that React Hook Form handle this one in order to just to validate your validation. It's going to do one re-render, but as soon as there is it doesn't need any kind of validations out there, so it's going to make your input something behind the scene in order to prevent any kind of extra re-renders. So that's it. Just for demo, let's see Redux 1.2. I know it's a mess, but definitely we should take a look at it. Okay. Okay, and yeah, size of our project 2.06, and Redux is here, and other React Redux is here, Redux is here, and Redux form is something out there. Don't worry about it. Okay, it's our React Redux form. Let's first of all try to type something here. React Redux form. Yeah. I don't know why, but my re-render doesn't work. Let me. Oh, I don't have the plugin here. Okay, no worries. I wanted to show you the re-render. I don't know why my re-render does not work. Okay, no worries. I'll show you the re-render. I fixed the re-render issue, and we will talk about it on the QA session. Okay, don't worry about it. It's the other project. Okay, so it's going to render everything each time. I try to put something there, so it's going to render everything. So we're going to talk about it at the QA session. Just let's conclude and done. So based on some kind of survey that React Europe conference did the other day. So everybody is agree with, Formic, 41%. So to be honest, I think Formic is pretty neat. But, to be honest, I go for React Hook Form for my next project. Why? Only because of performance. When it comes to the performance, I think the best performance is for React Hook Form. But when it comes to the handy, handy functions, pretty neat project, enjoy everything, good documentations, I go for Formic. If you want to ruin your project, please go for Redux Form. And I'm kidding, but if you take a look at the GitHub repository of the Redux Form, there is a big attention warning on the top. Please take a look at it. They admit to it that it's not a good form library. But if you want to develop an application with tears in your eyes, so please go for React State and do all of those boilerplate out there repetitive codes. Thanks. If you have any question, you can find me on LinkedIn, and here is my Gmail. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mohammad Jan. It was a really, really nice presentation, and I really liked how you structure your presentation and how you started with some metrics and then go with the features of each library, and then you provided nice examples. So personally, I really liked it. I'm sure that the audience as well. I also, my favorite one from the ones that you presented was React Hook Form. I also really like it. And at the beginning,
Me too.
yeah, and then at the beginning it was a bit hard for me because I was doing integration with Material UI library, and the documentation part for the Material UI was not that very good. But then in 1 week I got used to it, and then it went pretty well. Also, I have one question, and I'm curious because I have no experience with Formic, but about you mentioned about the validation, and you mentioned about the library YAP. So in React Hook Form, there is inbox validation included there. When you register your form fields, then you can also include validation. I'm curious, is there any kind of native validation from Formic side? And if there is no, so you always have to pick something external. Isn't it means that this is also another benefit of React Hook Forms over Formic?
To be honest, in terms of the validation, both of them, I mean, Formic and React Hook Form, act the same. I mean that both of them supports YEP, both of them supports required, min, max, min lengths, max lengths, regex patterns. In terms of the validation, both of them support same libraries, same third-party validation, schema libraries like YEP. So you can take advantage of both of them. There's no pros and cons in terms of the validations between these two libraries.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's just the matter of where you've put the validations inside, as you've mentioned, inside your register, or you can define it on the top level using YEP.
Okay, great. And I really liked, I didn't know about the benefit of React Form of the benefit of not re-rendering all the components when the state changes. So this is one of the takeaways for me, from the main takeaway from your presentation. So thank you very much.
Yeah, good. I'm happy about it.
We have many interesting questions, and we will go over them during the QA session. So thank you very much. We'll see you.
Thank you, Khader Jurjan. Take care. Bye.